Hello and welcome to another Blender bite-sized video. In this one I'm going to show you how to make a procedural chocolate material in Blender 4. Here's a quick rundown of the specs that I'm using. So I'm using Blender 4.2, Windows 11, NVIDIA graphics card, Cycles render engine and a custom startup file. Just before I continue with the tutorial, let me remind you that you can grab this material and hundreds more on my Gumroad store, blenderbitesize.gumroad.com. Okay, so here I am in my custom startup file, which I've got a separate video showing you how to use or create. The only slight difference is I've used 3-point lighting in this one instead of a single spotlight. I still have the room lights within the walls as shown in the other video. Anyway, for the material, we're going to switch over to the shading tab and enable display render preview. And then I'll make sure I've got that enabled. I'm going to select the object, assign a new material and call it, can you guess, chocolate. And the first thing I'm going to do is change a couple of things in the principled shader. I'm going to drop the index of refraction to 0 on a specular, change the roughness of the coat to 0.25, and I will come back to the other settings in a while because we're going to use other nodes to drive those. I'm going to start by adding an RGB node, so press Shift A and search for and apply that, and then I'm going to use a hex color value of 7C5A49, and that'll give me a nice milk chocolate look. Now it doesn't really look too much like chocolate right now, but we're going to do some other things. We're going to grab a mix color node and drop that between the RGB and the principled, connecting it up to the A slot. Then we'll grab a hue saturation value node and connect that to the B slot. And we'll also connect the color output from the RGB with a connector into the color input of the hue saturation node. And you just press Shift, right click and drag over the line to add one of those connectors. We're then going to control the factor of that using the facing output from a layer weight node, and we'll set that value to 0.125. And I'll drop the value to 0 on the hue saturation value. So what this is going to do is basically in the recesses is give me a darker color tones. So it's taking the same color, but wherever you see white here, it's applying this altered hue saturation value and then mixing them together in the mix node. So it's slightly less obvious, but you can change the factor there if you want to as well. Okay, so that's basically where the color is going to come from. So if I just drag this node off to the side and then select the other 3 nodes and press Shift P, that will add a frame around them. And then if I press N, I open up the node panel on the right and I can rename that so that I can see what it is when I come back to it in the future. So that's color, but we need a bit of texture. So we're going to add some bump detail here. I'll give myself a bit more room, but keep the head visible. So we're going to search for and apply a noise texture. And then press Ctrl T to add a texture coordinate and a mapping node. Make sure it's the object output from the texture coordinate. And I'll just isolate the noise texture so that you can see what's going on here. I'm going to change the scale to 2.5. And the distortion to 0.5. I think I might make some adjustments there actually though. The detail I'm going to bump up to 5, roughness to 0.35, and distortion I'll drop down to 0.25. So you can kind of see there the grey and white values across that model. And then I'll connect up a bump node between the noise texture and the principled shader. And I need to make sure that the noise texture is going into the height input. I'll change the strength to 0.125 and the distance to 0.25, and that just gives me a little bit of bump detail. I'll connect that up to the normal on the principled shader, but also to the coat normal as well, so that will follow the bump detail as opposed to just be a single glossy surface over the top. Now I'll take the factor from the noise texture and put it into the weight of that coat, so you can see now it's got a more glossy appearance. And I'm also going to use that to drive the roughness. Oops, make sure I connect it to the right one. And then I'm going to frame those four with Shift P and then N and call them bump detail, because that's what they are. Now I'd like to be able to switch between various different types of chocolate. So because this is a bit of a mess, what I'm going to do is select all of this and press Ctrl G to group it. Then I now have my group input, which is going to control a number of factors within the material. So with the group input selected, I'll press N, and then where it says input, I will double click it and change that to color, because that's going to control the color input for the material. I'm also going to search for a group input again and put it within the bump detail. And then for each of the empty slots at the bottom of the group input, I'm going to connect up all of the different controls for the noise texture, apart from the lacunarity. So scale, detail, roughness, and distortion. Once I've done that, I will exit out of the group into the main view. And you can see there, that's now much tidier. If I select them all and press Shift equals, that will line them up for me. And then what I'm going to do is expand these nodes a bit, because I want to give them titles and I want them to be legible. So just move your cursor over the edge of the node and then click and drag. So I'll name the group chocolate, and I'll open that side panel with N and make sure I rename pretty much everything else. So what we've got there in that group node is controls for the color, scale, detail, and roughness and distortion. But like I said, I want to switch easily between different types of chocolate, depending on what takes my fancy. So I'm going to select the chocolate node, the RGB input, and duplicate it 4 times. Whoops, don't click there. Don't worry, I've got another space-saving tip for you in a second. But first I'm going to set up all the colours. So for the top one, I'm going to use the hex value of EAD 9BB, and that'll give me a white chocolate look. So I'll make sure to rename that. And you can see when I change that label value, it actually labels it on the node itself. And then for this one, we're going for white milk chocolate. So I've already done that one. That's what we originally created. So I'll just delete this. And that's around 45% cocoa value. So we'll name it 45% milk. Oops, named the wrong one. Make sure you got the right one selected. Then the next one that I'm going to connect up is going to be a dark milk value, and that will be 594033. Dark milk in other countries I think is called like a bittersweet chocolate. It's about halfway between a milk chocolate and a dark chocolate that's very bitter. After that, the next one is going to be like a 70% cocoa content, so it's going to be darker. So I'll go for a hex value of 4D372C. Make sure I've got that node selected. And we'll call it 70%. Now there are all sorts of different chocolates on the market, and I'm sure they've all got different sort of colours, but this will kind of give you a good range. And the last one's going to be like an 80% dark. It's not 100% pure bitter chocolate, but it is kind of getting into that realms of bitter. So there we go, we've got all 5 of those set up. But to save a bit of space, just click on that little arrow at the top to collapse that node. Then select them all and press Shift equals to line them up into a little group. And bring that up next to your group node. Now you can easily switch between them just by connecting up the output from the RGB node into the color input of the group node, which I think is rather easy. And this way you've got that range of chocolate colors and textures to come back to anytime you want. Now if we play with the scale and the detail and the roughness and the distortion, you can see we get like almost a ripply chocolate. And the detail gives us a bit more detail. And the distortion basically just wiggles it all about a bit. Roughness will increase the, let's say, smoothness. It's probably the wrong word. And some of these, if you set them quite high, you will only see if you're close up, as you can see here. But I think I'll leave that distortion at 0.25 and the roughness at 0.35, and then put the scale at 5 and the detail at 15. That gives me a nice lovely chocolatey look. Okay, so for render settings, I'll scroll down this panel here and hopefully you'll see, or can pause if you need to, all of the settings that I'm using. Obviously these settings do make a massive difference to the outcome of the material, as does the lighting, as does the scene, as does the place that you're putting it in. So just make sure you run through those. Now on the View Layer tab on the right, make sure you've got denoising data selected. And I'll just quickly show you the settings that I've got for the lamps here as well. So we've got the backfill. There's those. We've also got the front fill, which is based on the right at the moment. And then the key lamp. And then in the compositing tab, I've got the denoise node connected up to the outputs, as you see from the render layers node. And then some of those only appear if you've got that denoising data checked. So we'll run that through. And it took around 5 seconds to do the sampling, and then around 6 seconds or so to do the compositing. So around 12 seconds in total per frame. But I think you'll agree that'll give a nice chocolatey look to whatever project you're working on. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll give it a thumbs up, and of course subscribe for future content. In the meantime, thanks for watching and supporting the channel by doing so.